My name is Marie, I am 17 years old, and on December 31st, 2025, at exactly 11:45 p.m., while my parents were laughing and dancing and clinking champagne glasses with their friends in our living room celebrating the end of 1 year and the beginning of another, I was upstairs in my bedroom packing everything I owned into 2 duffel bags and a backpack, moving as quietly as possible so nobody downstairs would hear me, because in 15 minutes it would be midnight, and in 6 hours, when my parents finally woke up from their drunken sleep, they would find the letter I was about to leave on the kitchen table, and by then I would be gone so completely they would never find me. The party downstairs had started at 8 p.m. and I had not been invited, not officially. Anyway, my mom had said that morning, "Olivia, we are having people over tonight for New Year's, so just stay in your room, okay? We do not need you." Underfoot, and I had nodded like I always did and said okay, even though it was my house too, even though I lived there, even though I was part of this family, or at least I was supposed to be. But I had learned a long time ago that being part of this family meant being invisible until they needed something, and tonight they did not need anything from me, so I was supposed to disappear. I had spent the last 3 hours listening to music and laughter coming up through the floor, listening to my dad tell the same stories he always told, listening to my mom's fake laugh, the one she used when she wanted people to think she was fun and carefree, and I had sat on my bed staring at the walls of my room, thinking about all the New Year's Eves I had spent exactly like this, alone in my room while my parents pretended I did not exist, and I realized with perfect clarity that I did not want to spend another year like this, not one more day. So I started packing, and I was methodical about it. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, my phone charger, the small amount of jewelry. I owned the shoebox full of birthday cards from my grandmother who died 2 years ago, the only person who ever remembered I existed. I took my birth certificate and my social security card from the file cabinet in my mom's office. I took the envelope of cash I had been saving from my job at the bookstore, $3,200 that I had hidden in a tampon box because I knew my parents would never look there. I took everything that mattered, and I left everything that did not. At 11:50 p.m., I crept downstairs with my bags. The party was still going strong and nobody noticed me slip through the kitchen and out the back door into the garage, where I loaded everything into my car, the beat-up Honda Civic I had bought myself with money I earned, because my parents said, "If you want a car, buy it yourself. We are not made of money," even though they just spent $4,000 on a vacation to Mexico that I was not invited on because we need adult time, they said, like I was some burden they needed a break from. I went back inside one last time, and I stood in the hallway looking into the living room at all these people who were laughing and drinking and counting down the final minutes of 2025, and I saw my mom in a sparkly dress with her arm around my dad, and I saw my dad kiss her at midnight, and I saw all their friends cheer and hug and toast to the new year, and not a single person looked toward the hallway, not a single person wondered where I was, not a single person cared, and I thought, good, because this will make leaving so much easier. I walked into the kitchen and I pulled the letter out of my pocket, the letter I had spent the last week writing and rewriting until every single word was exactly right, and I placed it in the center of the kitchen table, right where my mom always sat to drink her coffee in the morning, and I weighted it down with the house key I would no longer need, and I stood there for a moment looking at that letter, knowing that in a few hours my parents would read it and everything would change. But it would be too late, because I would already be gone. The letter said this, and I had memorized every word because I had written it from a place so deep inside me that it felt like carving out my own heart. Mom and Dad, by the time you read this, I will be gone, not missing, not kidnapped, not in danger, just gone. I am 17 years old, and I have spent 17 years being invisible in this house, being the kid you forget about until you need something being told to stay in my room, to stay quiet, to stay out of the way. And I am done. I have saved money. I have a plan. I have a place to go, and before you call the police or try to find me, you should know that I have documented everything. I have kept a journal for 3 years with dates and details of every time you forgot my birthday, every time you went on vacation without me, every time you told me I was too much or not enough. I have text messages where you ignored me for days. I have voicemails you never returned. I have photos of the empty seat at every family dinner, the Christmas morning where my stocking was the only one without gifts, the parent-teacher conferences you never attended. I have evidence, and if you try to force me to come back, I will use it. I am not running away. I am leaving. Because there is a difference. Running away is what kids do when they are scared. Leaving is what people do when they are done. And I am done. Being your invisible daughter, I am done. Pretending that this is normal, that this is love, that I should be grateful you feed me and house me while emotionally treating me like I do not exist. I turned 17 2 months ago, and you forgot. It was not until 3 days later, when Grandma called to ask if I liked the gift she sent, that you even remembered. And then you said, "Sorry, honey, we have been so busy," as if being busy is an excuse for forgetting your own child exists. So I am leaving, and I am taking only what is mine, my clothes, my money, my documents, and I am leaving behind everything that was never really mine anyway. This house, this family, this life where I was always the afterthought, always the one who did not matter. I do not know if you will miss me or if you will even notice. I am gone until you need someone to do the grocery shopping or pick up your prescriptions or babysit for the neighbors, but either way, it does not matter anymore because I am choosing myself. I am choosing to go somewhere I am seen. Do not look for me. Do not call the police. Do not pretend you suddenly care, because we both know you do not. You care about how this looks. You care about what people will think, but you do not care about me. You never did, and I have finally accepted that. So this is not a cry for help. This is a goodbye. Love, Olivia. And at the bottom of the letter, I had included a photocopy of my journal entries, just 1 week's worth, as a sample, so they could see I was not lying, so they could see that I had proof. I left that letter on the table and I walked out of the house for the last time, and I got in my car and I drove away, and I did not cry, not then, because I had done all my crying over the past 17 years and I did not have any tears left. All I had was relief and determination and a strange kind of peace, because for the first time in my life I was choosing me. I was putting myself first. I was refusing to stay invisible. I drove for 3 hours until I reached my friend Sophia's house in the next state over. Sophia was a girl I met online in a support group for kids with neglectful parents, and when I told her I was planning to leave, she said, "You can stay with me and my mom as long as you need. We have a guest room and you will be safe here." And I had never met her in person, but I trusted her more than I trusted my own parents, because she saw me, she listened, she cared. I arrived at 3:30 a.m. on January 1st, 2026, and Sophia and her mom were waiting up for me, and Sophia's mom hugged me even though we had just met and said, "Welcome home, sweetheart, you are safe now." And I cried. Then not sad tears, but grateful ones, because I realized this was what it felt like to be wanted, to be seen, to matter, and I had spent 17 years not knowing that feeling existed. Meanwhile, back at my house, my parents were still partying, still drinking, still celebrating, and they had no idea their daughter was gone. They had no idea that upstairs my room was empty, that in the garage my car was missing. They had no idea, because they had not checked on me in hours, maybe days, maybe ever, and they would not know until morning. January 1st, 2026, at approximately 11:45 a.m., my mom walked into the kitchen with a pounding headache and bloodshot eyes, wearing the same sparkly dress from the night before, and she saw the letter on the table and the key sitting on top of it, and she picked it up with shaking hands, and she started reading. And I know this because Sophia's mom let me keep my old phone number so I could see what happened. And at 11:53, my mom called me 17 times in a row and left voicemails that started with anger. "Where are you? Get home right now. This is unacceptable." And then shifted to panic. "Olivia, please call me back. We need to talk. I do not understand." And finally ended with something that almost sounded like desperation. "Please come home. We can fix this." I did not know you felt this way, but I did not answer. I did not call back. I did not give her the satisfaction of a response, because I had already said everything I needed to say in that letter, and if she did not understand, it was because she had never tried to understand before. And my dad called next, and his voicemail was exactly what I expected. "Olivia, this is ridiculous. You are acting like a child. You need to come home immediately. We are your parents. You cannot just leave. And I almost laughed because he still did not get it. He still thought this was about rebellion or teenage drama. He did not understand that this was about survival, that staying in that house was killing me slowly, and I had finally chosen to live. Over the next few days, my phone exploded with messages from relatives who my parents had clearly told some twisted version of the story to. My aunt sent a long text about how worried everyone was and how I was breaking my parents' hearts, and I replied with a photo of one page from my journal, the entry from my 17th birthday that they forgot, and I said, "This is what breaking my heart looked like," and she never responded after that. My parents tried everything to get me to come back. They showed up at my old job, but I had already quit. They called my old school, but I had already transferred my records. They even filed a police report, but when the officer came to do a welfare check and saw that I was safe and fed and had a place to live and was not in danger, he told my parents, "There is nothing we can do. She is almost 18 and she clearly does not want to be found. You should focus on why she left instead of trying to force her back." Weeks passed and the calls slowed down and then stopped, and I started therapy with a counselor. Sophia's mom helped me find, and in one session, the counselor asked, "Do you think your parents will ever understand what they did to you?" And I said honestly, "No, I do not think they have the capacity to see me as anything other than an accessory to their lives, but that is okay because I do not need them to understand anymore. I just needed to get out." On my 18th birthday, 3 months later, I legally changed my name, not my first name, just my last name, because I wanted to cut that final tie to people who never saw me as part of their family. And when the paperwork was finalized, I took a photo of my new ID and I sent it to my parents with a message that said, "You always treated me like I was not part of this family, so now I am making it official. Thank you for teaching me that blood does not equal love." And I blocked their numbers and I never looked back, because revenge is not always loud or violent. Sometimes it is quiet and final. Sometimes it is a letter left on a table and a door that closes and never opens again. Sometimes it is choosing yourself when everyone else chose to forget you. And sometimes the best revenge is living a life where the people who hurt you do not get to be part of your story anymore. So tell me, if you woke up hungover on the first morning of a new year and found a goodbye letter from the child you forgot existed, would you finally understand what you lost, or would you still find a way to make yourself the victim?